What's up, everybody? Noble Comics here to ask, could Batman infiltrate Shadow Moses? If you don't know what this is, Shadow Moses is the nuclear black site facility that Solid Snake has to infiltrate in the first Metal Gear Solid game. And since we did Could Solid Snake infiltrate the Batcave, I think we'll give Batman a chance to infiltrate one of the bases that Snake has had to do before. And to make this a little bit more interesting, kind of video gamey, I do want to do the Arkham Batman as well, because the comic book Batman can pretty much do anything at this point. So let's look at the Arkham Batman. Could he infiltrate Shadow Moses? First, let's lay out our parameters here. What is Batman actually having to do? Well, keeping in line with the actual story from the game, he has to get in, rescue two people, Donald Anderson and Kenneth Baker. He has to stop the nuclear bomb that's reported to be here, and there is an 18-hour limit. Now, usually in the game, we get quite a bit of support from our comm team. Batman will not have that here, but he still does have Oracle, who he can talk to. And as far as gear that Batman's going to have, he does have, of course, his semi-bulletproof armor. He has his explosive gel, his freeze pellets, batarangs, his remote batarangs, his little shotgun smoke pellets, disruptor, grapple line, remote hacking device, and of course his detective vision. Let's walk through what Snake had to do and see if Batman could do it. So first, he's going to breach this place by going underwater and swimming up through a hidden bay here. Now, whenever we get into this room, there are two armed guards, and then there is one guard who's going to come down off of an elevator. And we know that they have 5.56 rounds, and later guards will have grenades. I think Batman has no problem getting in here, swimming into this place. And of course, he would have no problem taking out a few guards. He goes up to the next level. From here, we're outside the main facility. There are multiple guards there, and these are actually genome soldiers who have enhanced vision, enhanced hearing. They're all armed with guns as well. There are spotlights, there are cameras here, the doors are locked. However, there is a ventilation shaft that can let you inside. And do be aware that there is an attack helicopter off to the side, and it is extremely cold outside. And again, I think this would be no problem for Arkham Batman. Stealth is his thing. He could easily sneak around here, avoid the spotlights, take out any guards if he needed to. And again, going through vents is like casual for this guy. So he'll sneak through the vents just like Snake did and continue to make his way. From here, he goes into the prison, okay? And in this prison area, all the cells have locked doors that require ID card access. And this is where he discovers Donald Anderson, who is one of the people that he needs to rescue. Now, Donald Anderson does have some information for Batman as he drops into his cell, and he essentially tells him where to find the other inmate, right, Kenneth Baker, that he's in a lower level and that there are some non-painted walls, letting him know where the false walls are so that he can get in. And he gets the security card to be able to access doors on level 1 here. And also to the side, Meryl is also in a prison cell, and she's overhearing all of this. Now, typically in the game, Donald Anderson would die because Snake accidentally infects him with the Foxdie virus, but here, Anderson would actually live. And we're not going to force Batman to walk around with this guy the whole time. We will assume that Anderson will stay in his cell and that Batman will come back to pick him up. Or Batman could escort him back outside to safety, call in a plane or something like that to get him picked up. Something like that. Regardless, I think Batman could get Anderson out of there alive. Though whenever he does get out, he and Meryl are then attacked by a group of genome soldiers who find them, and he actually has to fight 15 in total, all armed with guns and grenades. Could Batman take on 15 guards at once? I think that is reasonable, especially since they're being funneled through this one door here, 3 at a time. Not to mention Batman has his batarangs, his disruptor to take out their guns, explosive gel, stuff like that, freeze pellets, smoke bombs. I don't think he'd have any problem fighting these guys as they come in 3 at a time. And we can't forget that Meryl is actually in disguise here, but Batman, being the world's greatest detective, would certainly figure out that that is not a real guard, right? But let's say for now that she does manage to kind of get away without giving him the card or any information like that. So I believe that he would talk to Meryl and would find out her radio frequency, and maybe he even gets the card from her at this point, but I don't think that's necessarily a given or anything like that. But Batman would then continue on to the lower prison. There's more locked doors requiring the ID card that he got from Donald, and he would see the secret entrances there, right, of the non-painted walls that his explosive gel would be able to break into. Now, inside this room, there is some electrostatic interference, some signal jamming, so Oracle would be unavailable. And before him, he would see Kenneth Baker with the wire explosive trap there, right, all tied up, and Ocelot would make himself known. I think Batman has zero problem throwing a batarang, knocking the revolver out of Ocelot's hand, and then knocking the dude out. Gray Fox probably still shows up. He cuts Kenneth Baker out of the explosive trap, and then maybe helps fight some of those more guards who show up, right? Which again should be no problem for Batman. With Kenneth Baker alive, he does have now the security card for level 2, and he has the info disc on the nuclear program. However, we know that this isn't the real Kenneth Baker. He is already dead. This is actually a super soldier who has like extreme camouflage capability and is pretending to be Kenneth Baker. Also, he would die in the game because of Snake's Fox Die virus, but here, Kenneth Baker will remain alive and will remain behind. Moving past here, we're back in the main cargo room with all the tanks. Again, more armed guards, more cameras, no problem for Batman. And here, Meryl actually opens the cargo doors for Snake, and I think that she would do the same for Batman. He did get her frequency, they can communicate via radio, so that would get opened for him, and then he would have to dodge the infrared sensors, which would release poison gas if an intruder was detected, and with his detective vision, he should have no problem seeing these lasers and dodging them. Outside of here, we have the first real boss fight of the run, and this is going to be Vulcan in a tank fighting Batman, and there's also mines hidden in the snow, though I'm not sure if Batman would have this information. I'm not sure if Oracle would have scoped that out to be able to let him know about the mines. Is it possible his detective vision would be able to see that? I'm not sure. But the main thing here is fighting Vulcan in the tank. Could Batman take out a tank? Well, I think it'll be quite difficult without the Batmobile here, which we all know is the tank fighting machine. And there isn't a ton of cover, definitely no verticality for Batman to take advantage of here. But I do think it's reasonable that Batman could grapple onto the tank and apply enough explosive gel to at least get the hatch open and knock out Vulcan. So I don't think it's out of the question that Batman could disable the tank, maybe not the same way that Snake did. Moving on from here, he's got more armed guards to go through, which again, no problem. Disruptor, martial arts, stuff like that. Then we get to the lower level here, where we have this room full of cameras, one, full of poisonous gas, two, and with an electrified floor. The signal's also being jammed, so we can't talk to Oracle, and this is the place where he's going to meet Emmerich, who has a lot of good information for him, and will come into play later. Now, to turn off the electrified floor, we had to use a remote control missile in the game, navigates around some corners, takes it out, and Batman does have his remote control batarang, which could probably do the same thing. It may go out of range, but for the sake of argument here, we're going to assume that his remote control batarang can do it. However, the gas actually is a problem here, because throughout all the Arkham games, Batman has never had a gas mask. Now, Snake finds his gas mask in one of the nuclear silos here, so I think it is not unreasonable that Batman would find one as well. But this is going to be like a divergent path here. One where Batman skips this portion because he doesn't have a gas mask, and one where Batman finds the gas mask and continues on. If he skips it, right, because he doesn't have a mask, he skips it and keeps going, well, then he would go and he would find Meryl again. They would team up, they would talk, and then they'd have the fight against Psycho Mantis. She mind controls Meryl. Batman would have no problem subduing her. Psycho Mantis would try and read his mind. However, Batman has sort of mental techniques to stop people from reading his mind, at least in the comics and the animated series. I'm not sure if he does here in the Arkhamverse, but I guess we can assume that his mind can be read. He also has telekinesis and can go invisible. Now, I don't think Batman would have any trouble beating Psycho Mantis, right? Throwing stuff around the room at us won't be a big deal. And Detective Vision, I assume, could see him when he's invisible, or, any sort of infrared. But here's an interesting part, too, is that after Snake beats Psycho Mantis, he gives up some information to Snake, because he reads Snake's mind and realizes that he's not like all the other people. He doesn't just care about offspring. It was kind of a weird conversation. It made it sound like he liked Snake because Snake didn't want to have kids. I don't know, it was kind of strange. But he reveals to him that there's a secret door behind the bookcase. And I do imagine if he was reading Batman's mind, he would probably come to a similar conclusion and give up the information to Batman that there is a secret entrance behind the bookcase. So I think that does line up. Through the bookcase going outside, we have some more cameras, we have some more jammers, and we have some actual half-wolf, half-husky dogs out there to fight, which shouldn't be a problem for Batman, again, with all his gadgets. There's also some more mines in the ground, and there is, of course, the sniper here. Now, we will assume that Meryl is going to be tagging along with Batman, even though he wouldn't want her to. Same thing with Snake. And she would get sniped here, right? And Batman doesn't have a sniper of his own. Even if he had one, he wouldn't use it, right? He wouldn't shoot back at this person. But there would be the sniper, right, holding down that hallway, making it impossible to pass. However, I think a quick smoke bomb and a grapple would pretty much do the trick. Smoke bomb to block her shot, grapples over to her, and he could probably subdue her right then and there. Now, at this point in the game, more guards come out, and you're actually kidnapped, you're tortured, and you're put in a prison cell. And Otacon, who you meet right in that past that gas room, he actually lets you out, or he makes it to where you get out of the prison. But I think we can probably scrub all that, because I don't think Batman would get kidnapped. I think he would probably just beat the sniper. He could probably just beat the guards and wouldn't need to be kidnapped or tortured or anything like that. And so us not meeting Otacon earlier wouldn't really hurt us here. Past the sniper room, we're going up a spiral staircase, fighting guard after guard after guard. Tons of more cameras and camera turrets here as well, which again, Batman could either electroshock, could use Disruptor to take out, or take out with Batarang. And the same pretty much goes for the guards also. I don't think he'd have any problem fighting his way up. When you get to the top, there is the attack helicopter there, and Snake rappels down the side of this building to get to a lower level, and Batman could probably just do the same, rappel down the building to avoid the attacks of the helicopter, and from here we'd have to fight some more armed guards. I will say that these guards can survive like 3 point-blank Nikita missiles, so I don't know, that's probably just like video game logic, but these Geno soldiers are no joke. But I'm probably willing to say we've seen Arkham Batman fight worse. Now again, in Arkham Knight, we see the Batmobile fight and defeat an attack helicopter, but we haven't seen Arkham Batman do it normally here. This helicopter also has someone in it, right? Liquid Snake is in here, so I think Batman would be hesitant to blow it up because he doesn't want to kill anybody, right? He has his no-kill rule, so this might be an interesting scenario that he's been put in. But destroying the helicopter doesn't actually progress the story forward, so I think Batman could probably just keep running and skip it and just go down the elevator like you do after you defeat the helicopter, right? He would just avoid the conflict altogether, and he would have to fight an elevator full of invisible agents, which might be difficult for him, right? Unless Detective Vision can let him see people who are invisible. But past that, it's again just more cameras and doors which he can hack and open and have no problem with. Past this, normally we'd have to fight the sniper in the snowstorm, but since we took out the sniper earlier, we're going to say that we don't have to do that, and she doesn't die. We continue descending and we go down to the Metal Gear level, and here we're ambushed by more armed guards on the elevator. Again, light work for Batman, smoke pellets and whatever he needs to use to beat them up, not a problem. But then we have to fight Vulcan with his minigun. The good news here is that the map is pretty hidden, right? There's tons of shipping containers and stuff that Batman could hide behind. And also he does have his Disruptor, which I imagine, if the way it works is that it disables weapons, if you could disable his minigun, essentially turning it into a hand-to-hand fight, which of course Batman would win. We'll just go ahead and say that that's how it works. From here, we're now in the actual Metal Gear room, and this is where Snake overhears Ocelot and Liquid priming the nuke. And we'll actually throw in another character here. We'll throw in, Mr. Octopus, who didn't die before. We'll say has regrouped as well. And now he's with this team. They're priming the nuke, and it takes the 3 keys to stop it. However, at this point, we figure out from Otacon, the 3 keys are really just one key that changes shape in different temperatures. Now, we haven't met Otacon, right, because we skipped the gas room, so we wouldn't have that information. And we'll assume that we did get the key from Meryl earlier, right, whenever we met up before our fight with Psycho Mantis. But we're also assuming that she is still, laying out there, bleeding out on the ground. I'm sure Batman gave her some medical attention, but she's back there, still, so she needs some help. So now we're in a situation where we have the key, we don't know that it changes shape. Could Batman figure that out, that it does change shape in different temperatures? Potentially, but I'm not sure. And really though, we don't want Batman to figure that out, because in the game we know that whenever we are deactivating the nuke with the 3 keys, that we were being tricked and it actually will activate the nuclear bomb, and that Octopus from before was lying to us. And now perhaps if Octopus isn't dead, and again he's here talking with them, Maybe Batman overhears that and he knows not to put the keys in because that would activate the nuke anyway. Regardless, he shows up, clears through a few more guards, turrets, cameras, whatever, and now has to fight the Metal Gear, which is equipped with machine guns and missiles. Gray Fox also shows up here to help fight the Metal Gear, which we will probably need, as I don't think Batman quite has the firepower to take this thing down. Again, he could be picking up weapons like Snake, picking up these rocket launchers like Snake has been, but I don't know. I feel like that's not quite how he would behave. Again, I do think that Batman's methodology here would not be to disable the Metal Gear, but to disable the pilot, maybe try and freeze the glass, blow it up, be able to get in and actually get liquid. Because I don't think that Batman could take this thing out with the firepower that he has. But I do think that him, again, getting onto the Metal Gear with his grapple, being able to break the glass, get to liquid, is not unreasonable at all. And then he would have to fight him hand to hand, and obviously Batman wins there. Now, typically in the storyline, this is where we would save Meryl, and then she would be with us, and the nuclear bomb would be active, the doors would all be locked, and Otacon says that he's the only one who's able to unlock them, and the place is about to blow. However, I think that, well, one, the Metal Gear's not destroyed. Two, we don't have Otacon, so we don't have him able to unlock the doors for us. And three, we don't have Meryl with us either. But, again, would it be unreasonable to say that Batman would pilot the Metal Gear to break out of the facility, and then call for help to extract both Donald Anderson and Meryl? I don't think that's too far-fetched. And Batman would have successfully completed the mission of stopping the nuclear bomb, exfiltrating who he needs to exfiltrate, and let's assume that whenever he figures out that Kenneth Baker is really like a clone or something, a shapeshifter, then he would assume that he's dead, or he'd otherwise find out that the guy's actually dead and doesn't need to worry about extracting him. And so that would be a successful mission. Now, if we go all the way back, right, to where I had that branch of going into the gas room, if Batman did find the gas mask, and he did go in there, he meets Emmerich, everything like that, I think it mostly turns out to be the same, because I still don't think he'd get kidnapped. Emmerich would tell him about how the keys are used, and we can say here, right, a few different things, like, well, what if the Octopus Man didn't come back and didn't reveal the secret that he shouldn't use the keys to activate the nukes? Well, we'd still have Otacon, right, to help us escape, being able to open the doors for us and able to get out, though there would be the problem of, what about Donald Anderson, what about Meryl, do they make it out alive, or would Batman leave them behind? I do think the only scenario here where Batman definitively loses is if he never meets Otacon, so he doesn't have a way out, he doesn't have any other information, and then the Octopus Man doesn't show back up again. So as far as Batman knows, the key is in his hand, and for whatever reason, he knows he has to have 3 of them. He figures out it's the whole temperature thing. Batman's incredibly intelligent, so I don't think that's out of line. And then he actually goes and activates the nuclear bomb, but then he's trapped inside because it says there, only Otacon can open the door. But he's never met Otacon. He doesn't know how to contact him. He doesn't have any of that info. And so he's just trapped in there with a nuclear bomb, and everybody dies. That's like the only way that I see Batman losing this mission. Otherwise, kind of how I laid it out there, I think that's pretty reasonable as to how Batman would behave, how Arkham Batman would handle the situation. Most of the challenge here is from armed guards, security cameras, turrets, and things like that, which should be no problem for him. There's a few like locked doors and things like that, but he does have a hacker to be able to get into that, his remote hacking device. Where he needs explosives, he does have explosive gel. He has the tools like smoke bombs, his electric gun, freeze pellets, and his grapple, which can help him out during all these other times where he would normally need a gun. And the added burden of having to exfiltrate some live people, I don't think would be crazy, because that's kind of what he's used to, right? And Arkham Batman is also used to people dying around him and not throwing that big of a fit, so hey, maybe he'd be fine if some of the people didn't. The biggest challenges would be sort of the tank encounter, the helicopter encounter, and the Metal Gear, things that require more heavy-duty explosives and damage in order to take down. He would have to find creative solutions to them, or try and ignore them altogether and just finish his mission, which, again, I think is reasonable in the way that I described how he'd handle the situations here. So overall, I do think that Batman successfully infiltrates Shadow Moses, completes the mission within his time frame, and exfiltrates as needed. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that what I laid out here is reasonable? Do you think that Batman could do it? Do you think that Batman does it better than Snake? Let me know in the comments down below. And I will see you in the next video. Take care.